everybody. This is Tim Green with Rattle Magazine, and this is a special edition of the Rattlecast. This is a Poets Respond open mic. I think we're going to be doing this every week, probably. And what I'm going to do is every episode on Sunday, I'll share the poem that we chose for Poets Respond, and explain a little bit why that's the poem I chose. And then we'll have the floor open for people who submitted for Poets Respond that week. We'll do an open mic that way over Skype or over the phone. I can show the poems so you can read along as we go, similar to the Rattlecast. I'm just using all the Rattlecast infrastructure. If you haven't seen an episode of the Rattlecast, that's every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. We interview a new poet from one of our issues and talk about their book and read poems from their book. So that's a lot of fun, and I thought we'd expand it and do it this way. If you're not familiar with Poets Respond, we've been doing that for 6 years. Every Saturday for 6 years now. I've read. We receive about 100 to 200 submissions on an average week, and I will lay either on that couch right there or in the hammock. You can't see outside the window, and I'll read them all. Pick the one that I think people will respond to the most. And but it's a really great experience for me. I just love doing it. The chance to read all these different news stories that I hadn't seen throughout the week, and then to read and learn more about them and how people are responding to them through poetry has been a really fun experience. It's the highlight of my week pretty much every week, is that Saturday morning, drinking my coffee, reading those poems. And I've always wanted to share that experience with people. So I always encourage people to join our Facebook group and share poems that way, even if we didn't pick your poem. But Facebook's not the best way to share. So I'm not really sure. I've never been really sure what to do. And I think this might be the solution. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed this. I have a whole bunch of poets, about 50 people, maybe 60 at this point, said they'd like to participate in this. And we'll get to as many as we can. I don't want to go much more than like an hour and a half every week, but I think we'll do this every week. So if you don't get on this week with your poem, you'll get on in a future week if you keep submitting to Poets Respond. The other thing I want to mention is that I'm not screening based on how much I like the poem. This is an open mic, so I'm intentionally not looking at the poems and just inviting people on as we go. Because I make enough decisions. It's really hard to pick a poem every Saturday morning to publish on Sunday, and I don't like to make more choices than I have to. So this is going to be a total open mic. Skype is preferred because then we can see your face, but phone works too, and we'll just go through. Now, if you hear my kids in the background, this is Sunday, so they're always home. But they're always home now, too, because our schools are closed and we're under, the California shelter-in-place order. Okay, so let's get into it. And I hope you enjoy this. And if you do, I should say, do click the like button. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you're watching this. If you're on Facebook, this should be streaming live on Facebook, too. And make sure you're turn your notifications on so you get notifications if you're watching it that way. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and click the bell for notifications. We're a nonprofit. Everything we do for free because we love poetry and want to spread it around. And you can help by helping us spread poetry around too. So that's much appreciated. Okay, so now today's poem that I chose was Jessica Cohen's poem, Spring. And here, we'll let her read it. This is Spring.
Spring. It was the spring when dry goods held our fascination. We bottled gold, hand-pumped mucus. Toilet paper became currency. The cut of ethyl alcohol sharpened elbows.
Hey, let me redo that. I thought I could do it a certain way. I have to play it again. I thought I could do it. See, I have a new computer. It's a slightly new setup than it was before. So I thought it was playing for you if I did it this way, but it's not. So let me try again. I'm gonna mute my microphone.
Spring. It was the spring when dry goods held our fascination. We bottled gold, hand-pumped mucus, toilet paper became currency. The cut of ethyl alcohol sharpened elbows. We took our contact in fluid ounces, returned to fire escapes, back steps, the opposite side of the street. The public square emptied, and the crosswalk followed. Masters of airports called the airplanes home. The cars stopped moving from their spaces along side streets. Certain mornings a bird might appear, its soft tweeting out of place. A day would pass, its tally of losses. People died, first in abstraction, and then a name we knew, and the geography of the world came into focus. There was a fat man in charge, or so they said, and he named the virus China. But the tankers and the cargo ships and the thin layer of hyper-clean water under every screen called it home. Some of us bought bullets. Some of us bought stock, trading on the corpses and their deep pockets. But there were many more who saw beauty in far-sighted blue sea hemming in our patchwork boundaries. It was the spring when hope was a shell game, and there were winners even then.
Yeah, so that was Jessica Cohen reading her poem Spring. Now, what I really loved about that poem, there are a couple lines that just really stood out to me, which I'll show you. And I should say too, there's sort of several uses, I would say, for poetry. One of them is to explore and discover the things you didn't know you knew. Another one is to provide a sort of chronicle of our time. And I think this poem did a really great job of providing a chronicle of what we're sort of all going through right now. So it's sort of a poem that we can look back at in 20 years later and get the experience of being alive through this moment in history, which will be a moment that's written about in history books for sure. I loved, in particular, this line, a day would pass, its tally of losses. Because that is just such the way that it feels. I don't know, everyone probably, like me, goes to the coronavirus tracker every day, and it is a tally of losses every day, and that's kind of how we're chronicling this. And then there's something about this ending. It was spring when hope was a shell game, and there were winners even then. It's a surprising turn for that last line, and written with such conviction and authority. I love that. I don't really know, what it means. It's sort of ambiguous. There's several different ways you can take it, but it means something, and I felt something reading it. So I really like that poem. Now, Jessica Cohen says, I wrote this sitting in my car in the emptied parking lot of the Santa Cruz Superior Court. Some of us still have to go to work. The city is not much of a city with so few people out. This poem is a response to that, everything else that is COVID-19, and the fact that spring is early this year, historically so. Poems about spring keep showing up on my feed in an email, and they strike me as so strange this year. Be well, people, love from here. So that's the note from Jessica Cohen, and that's the poem I chose for today. Another reason I chose this poem, I mentioned it's sort of a chronicle poem that you can look back and know what this moment is like. It's about the sixth poem I think we've published on coronavirus, so they've all hit different angles, and I felt like we hadn't gotten this sort of complete angle yet. So that's why I chose that poem today. I hope everybody enjoyed it. But as always, there are a great number of poems that are really good, and it's really hard to choose between them. What I do is I read through, and I make a sort of a maybe pile, which will be like 20 poems that are I think are worth really closely considering. And then I just narrow it down, and I end up with like 5, and then I read and reread those over and over again, trying to figure out, which one is the one that's going to have the most effect on people and be the most remembered and shared and last the longest. That's kind of what I'm looking for, what evokes the most emotion too. So that was it today. But we have a lot of poems to share, and I'm going to start calling up people The next poem we're going to do, if I can get a hold of her, this is Judith Hoyer. I'm going to give her a phone call if I can find her number. You have to bear with me for a second. So we're going to make this like we do with the Rattlecast. I think I'm going to make this an audio podcast and put it out on iTunes and all that too. And let's see, where is... And so I can cut out for the audio-only people later who are watching this after the fact, I can cut out me calling people and looking up phone numbers and stuff. But I'm going to call Judith Hoyer now. And let's see, have her read her poem. Hers the poem I was trying to decide between. I got down to two. And this was the other one. So hopefully you can't hear the phone ringing sound yet. Hey, Judith, just 1 second. Give me a second. You're on. Let me put you on the video. So Judith Hoyer, so you wrote the poem this week, a poem with every line ending in coronavirus. Where are you calling from? Or where am I calling you from?
I'm in Wayland, Massachusetts.
Well, thanks so much for studying this poem and for agreeing to be on this new podcast format. It's going to be a lot of fun doing and sharing these poems with people. Now, I mentioned, I don't know if you're watching live, but I mentioned that this was my second favorite poem, I think, of the week that I was debating between publishing. Because for me...
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
For me, this was my experience. There were 800 poems submitted this week, which is our record by about double. And they all have the word coronavirus in them. So I felt like you captured that with this poem. Do you want to read it for us?
I'd love to. Thank you. A poem with every line ending in coronavirus. What is this feared thing crowned coronavirus that dropped me off at home to hide alone from coronavirus, where I have to winter like a lawnmower from coronavirus? There are no cages that can corral this beastly coronavirus. From my kitchen window, I watch birds fly free of coronavirus, while I down coffee and stir a migraine of coronavirus. I blame my crossed-out calendar on coronavirus. A trip to kiss grandchildren nixed by coronavirus. Canceled Azores flight, index finger gunned at coronavirus. If I buy a dozen eggs, my next breath could be full-on coronavirus. Tomorrow when I go to CVS, I might bump into coronavirus. The indignity of a ban on handshakes, all because of coronavirus. I keep refreshing New York Times stories about coronavirus, writing poems about how the false halo of coronavirus has created a world before and after coronavirus. Children will remember 2020, that time when coronavirus laid low a favorite grandparent with coronavirus. It goes round and round, the gossip carousel of coronavirus. No stay at a hideaway on Block Island can trick coronavirus. No 12-step program has the cure for my name is coronavirus. What if a Me Too movement posse could collar coronavirus, jail that liar, that controller, that filthy coronavirus? Not one your son or daughter should hang with coronavirus. The hand-wrenching, hand-washing, no-end coronavirus. If I could, I'd shovel up that piece of crap coronavirus, dump it in a bag with a twist tie coronavirus, burn it in the backyard, go up in smoke coronavirus. But I know there'll be a blowback of coronavirus. when the wind shifts my way, the coronavirus in my nose, eyes, mouth. Oh, the sting of coronavirus.
Judith Hoyer, thanks so much for sharing that poem with us. I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm glad that we get to share it this way too. We can only publish one poem, and occasionally two, but I already picked, a bunch midweek, so it was hard to, I really wanted to. So it was great to get this on record and get an audience for it. And I appreciate you calling in and reading it.
Great, Tim. Thank you so much. It
Yeah.
was exciting to do that.
Great, thanks. Well, keep up the good work, and hope to hear from you soon.
Okay, I will. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Yes, that was Judith Hoyer, and she wrote just about this. It's Judy O'Connell Hoyer is how she writes. So if you look her up that way, Judy O'Connell Hoyer. And she writes, I wanted to create a deafening drumbeat, a tattoo that gives the sense of how obsessed we are about coronavirus, a word repetition the reader has to endure until the poem finally ends. That was a really great one. So let's keep this ball rolling. We have a ton of poets who wanted to do this. And next I'm going to call Caitlin Buxton. Let's find her poem for you. And call up Caitlin. Hey, Caitlin, this is Tim with Rattle. You're on the
Hey.
Rattlecast. Hey, thanks so much for joining us. Let me pull you in. Actually, you're already in, so hello.
Okay, you got my audio and my video?
I got your audio and video, and it looks great. You have a great setup there.
Great. So I actually teach English online, and this is my teaching space, so hence all this stuff.
That's awesome. Did you teach online before this, or did you start because of the...
I did,
okay.
but it was a part-time thing, and now it's a full-time thing, unfortunately. But also, I get to see my students more often, and I see more students, period. So always looking for the silver linings.
Do you have any advice for people who are doing this now for the first time? Because so many people are. So many poets who are watching are teachers who have to figure out how to do this technology. Since you're an expert already, do you have any advice for them?
Well, I don't know about expert, but you guys can send me an email and ask specific questions if you want. So I teach through VIP Kid, and if you guys are looking for an opportunity to pick up a teaching job, it's pretty easy to sign up, and they walk you through things. And really, if you've got a good headset and you've got a good webcam, then you're kind of set. But yeah, I don't know more specifically than that. Ask me questions, ask your friends questions, do some research.
Well, you sent a bunch of poems, actually, like 3, but you wanted to read Contrails, right? Okay, cool. Let me throw it up on screen and then start reading.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yep, go ahead.
Cool. All right, thanks. Contrails. So people have spotted contrails and drafted their conspiracies, but it doesn't change the pandemic. Or does it? People say we're distracted, perhaps from something related to the election, too busy panicking over TP and hand sanitizer. Maybe it's the media that's been sanitized, scrubbed clean of the questionable contrails that might lead us to suspect the election is indeed founded on some conspiracy. Which dystopian novel will keep us distracted from the reality of this great pandemic? I'm still pondering the meaning of this word pandemic, which could also describe the annual flu, sanitized perhaps by overexposure more than distraction, and doesn't address the grudging contrails left in the wake of arguments over conspiracies or the upcoming presidential election. It's hard to know which direction this election will point us, if this particular pandemic will make or break us, creating conspiracies and hoarders of water, toilet paper, and hand sanitizer. I wonder if the stock market sales trail behind the purchases of books and other distractions, all designed to measure our reactions to a global health crisis and our election to ignore most societal problems and contrails until the shit hits the fan. We panic in a pandemic. They know it now. But distilleries are making sanitizer, so maybe our resourcefulness is assisted by conspiracy. To a degree. As a poet, am I predisposed to conspiracy, spewing words just to see if you're paying attention, throwing caution to the wind along with the sanitizer? I may not affect how you'll vote in the next election. I may not even care. But this coronavirus pandemic, and all its misplaced panic, must not prevail, contrail or no contrail. Whether you're stockpiling sanitizer or spinning conspiracies, let contrails and holy grails continue to distract us, that we may elect to produce a poetry pandemic of our own.
Thank you. And that was Caitlin Bucksbaum reading her poem Contrails from Poetry Respond this week. Thanks so much for joining us, Caitlin. I think I said Buxton instead of Bucksbaum. So it's for everyone at home, it's Buxbaum if you want to look up Caitlin. And it's Kate, Cait, Bucksbaum, Buxbaum.com is Caitlin's website. So you can contact her if you have any questions about teaching online. But thanks so much for sharing that, Caitlin, and I hope you keep it up.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, bye. Okay, so next up, we are going to shuffle over the pond, and I'm going to call, let me see where he went. Here he is, Nasatoa. Give him a call. Let me pull up his poem. Well, it's ringing, and oh, there he is. And it's Nasamala. Am I saying that right? Nasamala. Okay. Well, thanks so much for joining us on the. I can see you and hear you. You're on screen. You look good. You sound good. So we are good to go. And you said you're in Denmark, right?
Yes.
How are things there? Is it, we're locked down? Are you guys locked down too?
Yes, we are locked down. I think for almost 2 weeks now we have been locked down. Mm-hmm.
And are you getting any social interaction at all? Are you kind of stuck?
I beg your pardon?
Are you getting any social interaction at all? Or are you stuck where you are?
Just with my family. Mm-hmm. Just with my family at home. Yeah, and then the rest is more or less social media interaction. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm so glad you could share this poem and join us today. Your poem is "Give Us Water to Fight COVID-19 in Cameroon," and it's on screen now. So do you want to read it for us?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Thank you. Give us water to fight COVID-19 in Cameroon. In Anglophone Cameroon, survivors count roasted homes and corpses heaped along the streets and in bushes as fratricidal bullets blast across our villages and cities. Even so, mortal COVID-19 marches in, gestating rumors and panic, cramping lungs, heralding darker days ahead. How shall we tell short corpses from corona-killed corpses? In Yaoundé, the Right Honorable has dishonored injunctions from health experts and government and rushed from a suspected plane that came in from France to grab his 28th mandate in Parliament, despite instructions that all passengers from the flight be quarantined. A minister sent soldiers to pick up his wife from the same flight. Soon, Some hotel quarantined people will stuff virus-infected banknotes into the hands of security officers and disappear into the population like water vapor. When a virus comes to a country, it must learn to respect power and money. Otherwise, the virus will lose its war on poor citizens. While government pundits mount political rostrums to preach that we wash hands frequently with water and soap, newspapers wonder, wash hands with water, but where is the water? Water is in politicians' bank accounts abroad. Water is in bullets. But coronavirus takes no excuses. It has held the world's neck.
And thank you. That was Nsamala reading Give Us Water to Fight COVID-19 in Cameroon. Thanks so much for sharing that and joining us with us. It's great to see different perspectives from all over the world. Everyone's writing about the same thing. I think this is the biggest event globally since World War II, probably.
Yeah.
And so, of course, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you can again.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Let's see. So, who should we do next? Another one. I say I'm not picking these intentionally. It's supposed to be an open mic, but there's another poet I wanted to share because Dion is actually Jessica Cohen's teacher, from what I heard, or a workshop leader or something like that. So we're going to call Dion O'Reilly next. She had a good poem too. And let me give her a call. Try to pull her poem up. Hey, Dion, this is Tim with Rattle. Can you hear me? Hello, Dion? We're connected. Okay, there you are. Can you hit the camera button so we can see it too, if possible? There you go. Here you come, I think. Yep, hello. Let me pull you into the stream so everybody else can see you too.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Dion. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us on the special episode of the Rattlecast for Poets Respond.
It's a delight. Thank you.
Yeah, and we published you in Poets Respond maybe 2 years ago, I think. And we had you at our reading series, which is an excellent reading. So, yeah, it's really great to see you again. And you told me over the email just now that Jessica's a student of yours.
Yeah. Just for a little while. She's a natural.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that's cool. Well, what poem did you have? You have Myth of Bat Soup. Is that the one you want to read?
A Myth of Bat Soup. Yeah, I read somewhere that the coronavirus was caused by bat soup, mm-hmm. and I couldn't stop thinking about that because I grew up on a ranch and we always ate all this weird stuff.
Have you eaten bat?
No, I have not. I think that's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
But I wrote the poem and I sent it to you, and then I read it to my husband and he said, I don't think that's really true that it was caused by bat soup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think we know what caused it actually, but yeah. Who knows? Pangolins and yeah.
So I did some research, and it very well could be bats, but not bat soup. Probably because you boil it. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want to give up on the poem, so I did it because I wanted to believe it was about bat soup.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
I kept thinking about how would you make bat soup? So I looked at recipes, and they're gross. So anyway, that's the origin story.
Okay. Well, yeah. Let's hear it. I got it ready.
Okay.
Myth of bat soup. And it's got an epigraph. No, coronavirus was not caused by bat soup. Headline from health.com, February 2nd, 2020. Let me imagine the broth as she stirs it. Bits of wild mushroom, raw scallion, white onion wilted into salt heat. Thick,
coconut cream and galangal, small bones of foot and wing. How could I blame her? There was a time I'd eat anything, unwind my tongue like a lizard as I walked the tianguis, saw the sandy turtle egg, steer hooves, squirming larvae. Why else travel? I said to my horrified daughter as she watched me eat lungs bloated in blood, sprigged with fresh cilantro. But now I see my imaginary cook, long hair pulled back, her young face gleaming with steam, breathing in the sea smell of soup, rich concoction, lightly simmered, decanted to delicate bowls inscribed with frozen birds. And I wonder why we can't stick with the humble chicken who has no life outside our cages. Aren't fish enough? Reaped? No, carved. Let's say racked out of the deep with trawlers or bulldozers, whatever instrument to feed the wild rising need, the unslaked appetite. Did she taste the distemper hidden in the kelpie broth? Did she begin to sicken before the big spoon touched the last furry scrap? If she lived, did she still look to the tops of trees, to the black, glinting hieroglyphics scribbled across the night?
Deanna Rowley, thanks so much for sharing that poem. Another excellent one that very well could have been the one I picked this week. There's so many good poems every week, which it's great to be able to share them finally. I've always wanted to share more of these poems because it's really, especially, different weeks when it's not all about the coronavirus. Just seeing different news stories and what people are reacting to is great. So it's so cool to be able to share these poems finally in a format that's worthwhile. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Tim. This is a great thing.
Yeah, and hope you see you soon and stay safe.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Okay, let's see. So next up, we are going to do Kat Turbin, I think. Let me give Kat a call and try to find her poem. Hey, Kat, this is Tim with the Rattlecast. You are live in just 1 second. Click your camera button so we can see you if you would. Yep, there you go. Okay, just 1 second. So what poem did you want to read? Let me make sure I have the right thing. Are you there? Oh, I think we may have frozen. Let's see. Oh. Kat, are you there? Okay, well, your screen froze, but I hear you. So maybe it's just the connection. What poem did you want to read? Okay, let me find it. Just a second. Okay, pandemic, COVID-19. And now, where are you calling from? Oh, cool. And how are things there? Are they, is the panic buying and all that stuff? Yeah. Oh, wait, I didn't actually put you on. Okay, now you're on so people can hear you. So you're calling from Manchester, Connecticut, and is the panic buying and stuff going on? Is everybody locked down, or is it sort of one of the places that's not too crazy yet?
Well, there's lots of cars on the road when you go out there. There's people that are distanced but walking on the trails, which is nice to see. But I've been avoiding the CVS and the supermarkets because the parking lots have been packed. I'm like, well, I don't need to go in there right now, so I'm not going to go in there until early morning or something where they're just opening and I can go in, get the stuff that I know I need, and get out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we're doing too. We go on a hike every day, and it's our only outside. I think I have a bit of a sunburn actually, which is good because I want the vitamin D. But we haven't had any interaction with anybody in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I went running with my dogs yesterday, and the deserted Manchester Community College campus up the street, and they get these really nice wide sidewalks and huge fields of grass, and it's spring, and so I get out there, and usually it's just a walk, and no, yesterday it had to be run. So running around, and I had been doing like 15 sets of stairs at my internship before they put them all on hold. And so I need to move. And all of a sudden my dog started running, and I'm like, okay.
Well, that sounds good. Yeah, the exercise and vitamin D are what we want. Some things we all need right now.
Yep.
Okay, well, I got your poem up on screen. Do you want to read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pandemic, COVID-19. Don't touch your face. Pull your sleeve down over your hand by drawing your arm against your hip so you don't touch the door handles, the railings on the stairs, or the elevator buttons. Constantly refreshed fomites can last up to 14 days, and that is always when the skin on your nose starts asking you to be scratched. Don't touch your face. There are fewer people now to wander through the white plastic sheeted caverns filled with closely spaced cheap beds, offering succor. Put on your suit that matches the walls, use your air slowly, and let the rebreather scrub out the carbon dioxide so you can tend and monitor for extended shifts. Who but thee until you become me, a skin and bone bag stretched upon a sheet whispers to you in passing. You dab their lips with a dripping moist cloth. You push the latest antiviral, hopeful that this time it will be different. Don't touch your face. Negative air-filled space where a rip in your clothes means 16 days monitored inside a glass box. The 10-year-old child in bed 427 has died. You can admit it to yourself, at least, the charnel humor. Those beds are proto-coffins, and every wail muffled politely with a pillow is an ongoing wake for those still waiting to pass. Don't touch your face. When it's you on the bed, your body won't even get the dignity of a cardboard box in a hot flame. Instead, you'll be lucky to be wrapped in a sheet, and maybe it'll be a bulldozer driven by a woman with purple nitrile gloves and a masked face, pushing your entire generation into a hole in the ground.
Thanks so much. That was Kat Turbin reading her poem, Pandemic COVID-19. Another great one. You can see how many good poems people have been submitting over the last couple weeks. So thanks so much for joining us and sharing that. And stay safe, Kat.
Thanks, you too.
Okay.
Everybody else. Bye.
Bye. See, so next up we will find Lisa Rosenberg. Give her a call right now. Try to find Lisa's poem. Well, I got a answer machine message for Lisa, so maybe I'll try Lisa again in a little bit. Let's scroll down the list. And here is, let's see, I'll do this. We have to figure out who it is, but because it's not the, let's see. Oops, hang on one second. To find out who this is, because Skype doesn't say the name, but it's Poetry Project. And that was J.C. Wayne. So I'm going to call J.C. Wayne. Hopefully he will answer. It says he's active right now. J.C. Wayne, this is Tim with Rattle. You are on. Do you want to hit your camera button so we can see you? Ah, Yeah, poetry. Yeah, do you want to here, let me pull you in one second. You're not actually there yet. Okay. So, yeah, so we see you and hear you clearly. Do you want to explain what the poetry project is? That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I'm not seeing myself on the screen.
You're good though. You're good. So just don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so poetry is all about building loving worlds through loving words. And I've been hosting a live streamed in-person and virtual poetry reading for the last year from Burlington, Vermont, but with participants as far afield as Ireland and Australia.
That's really cool. And another person who's an expert already on this new technology that we're all moving to. And I looked it up. You use Zoom, it seems like. So you do a big Zoom conference call is how you do it.
Yeah. And it's pretty weird to see that Zoom is having this moment. The trolls have found it apparently as of today. So the universe is becoming a little different on Zoom.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, your poem was Memo?
In which you are to pause.
Okay, let me pull it up and then okay.
Great. Okay. In which you are to pause. Memo. Dispatched via diplomatic pouch. Date. March 19th, 2020. To my workers. Subject. In which you are to pause. Dear workers, you've been a noisy bunch. I have had a headache for centuries, and the neighbors have started to complain. Mars just won't shut up with their sword rattling. Vulcan keeps telling me throwing you all in their forge is just around the corner. And Uranus is getting a kick out of joking about bringing you all to their place where the sun don't shine. Even my boss, with their sunny countenance and radiant disposition, is getting on my case. And really, do you have to constantly be so god-awful to each other? In all my travels, truly, you create beauty of some of the rarest form, but that just doesn't seem to be enough, does it? So, my dear workers, the time has come in which you are to pause, to reflect, to contemplate, to get off the hamster wheel and out of the matrix, to love on each other, to treat my body kindly, to, for God's sake, put down your grubby lust for coin and spiritualize it up and out beyond the ugly bunker you have built, to witness the chance for the hold to be broken, to revel in the bully's real reveal as bloated baby blimps, to see the stock market on its knees, and to actually believe it is not the master of the universe. To laugh at the plaything that is the human relation with money, and feel reverence at the realization that it is actually an agent of love when we share it in people's well-being. Bet Andrew Yang doesn't seem so wacky and wonky now, y'all, eh? And dudes, please thank Bernie and Elizabeth. Yeah, he's crotchety. Yeah, she's got a plan for that didn't seem sexy. I do, however, love a sexy librarian, always have. But bet healthcare for all doesn't seem so crazy right about now, huh? So I'm going to keep those masks slow in coming. And you are going to stop. Just stop. Be silent, my workers. Be still. Be plunged vomiting out of the matrix and realize you can do jujitsu that restores my world. Be listening and hear the steady and sane wonders sharing wild ideas that are just what my doctors are ordering. Be silent, my workers, and become my beauties that you are, and turn this place into the sanctuary it is meant to be. Mars really is in a much better mood when they have a beautiful place to decompress. Neptune likes to switch up their meditation spots sometimes. Venus is able to write their monthly wisdom updates so much more clearly. And don't even get me started on the Voice Galactic Edition show we'll be able to have when you finally figure things out. From the desk of planet Earth, stardate the 366th day, it's a leap year, of the 12th month of my infinite year.
Thank you. And that was J.C. Wayne reading her poem, In Which You Are to Pause. Thanks so much for joining and sharing that.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
And thanks, everybody.
Yeah, have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so let me try Liz Rosenberg. She had her ringer wasn't on, so she didn't hear us last time. A lot of people are trying to call me. That's great. I really appreciate it. We're definitely not going to be able to get to everybody who wants to join in, but we're going to do this every week, I think. And so keep submitting poems and keep doing this. And if you enjoy it, let me say really quick before we move on to Lisa Rosenberg, who I'm going to call next. Make sure you do, wherever you're watching this, whether it's, I'm looking and it is working. We have 20 people watching on Facebook. We have like 60 people watching on YouTube. Wherever you're watching this, please do click the like button and share and let people know that you're enjoying this if you are, because that's how stuff spreads around. The algorithms, they need, the computer overlords need to know that you enjoy these podcasts, so they show it to other people who have already signed up for our Facebook page and stuff, because otherwise it won't get there. So please do click the like button and share. Now I'm going to give Lisa Rosenberg a call. And I got to find her poem again. Lisa, hi. I hear you. I hear my echo, so make sure you turn off your okay, great. Let me pull you in. Hello, Lisa Rosenberg. How you doing today?
I'm well. We are trying to keep safe, and it's Rosenberg.
Okay, Rosenberg. Where are you calling from?
Bay Area.
So you've been one of the early adopters to this new way of life, I guess.
We have. This is my third poetry online event, and I've also had 2 Aikido classes via Zoom.
Oh, wow.
So it's just amazing. People are actually able to do more things in a way because the logistics of driving through maybe the commute hour have disappeared.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's a good point. And I don't know, there's some plus sides to being self-quarantining, I guess. A lot more time to focus on your family and in what you can do when you can do it. And an appreciation, too. I found, I've been following the virus and sort of knowing this was coming since January. And just appreciating, like, what you can appreciate. We didn't have any bread for a week because of the bread runs. And so when we did get bread, it was like the most delicious bread ever. So there's always a plus side to things like that, too. So your poem is Equinox, right?
Yes, and I know you said every poem had the word coronavirus in it. And it's something that I part consciously, part unconsciously did not include, even though it's very much what spurred this poem, as well as these like nature walks that seem to be one of the only things available to us now.
Okay, well, I have it ready. Do you want to read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Equinox. It is Thursday. It is warm. Equal hours of rain and sun to match the parity of night and day, to watch our parrying of wonder against fear. Be still. Listen to crows clowning in the cedar, to each junco in a canopy of oak. Here. A small backyard in the suburbs. A small parcel equal to any before the stars. Let us test for calamity. Let us quantify calm, then dance in separate rooms. A season arrives. We might scrutinize the old maps as if their errors were not ours, as if shredding them could right the world. We might rechart the stars, follow soft paths of oxalis along the fence in bloom because they haven't heard the news, not once.
Thank you. And that was Equinox by Lisa Rosenberg. Thanks so much for joining and sharing that. And I hope you keep sending in poems and sharing them this way. Well, I think we're going to do this every Sunday because this is a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. Okay, so next up we're going to go, let's try Lee Woodman. Lee's been calling. Let me try to find... Hey, Lee, you're on. I hear my echo, so click out of your... Okay. Yep, good. Okay, 1 second. Let me pull you in. Next up, we're going to go... Let's try... Lee. I still hear... Click out of your YouTube, wherever you're watching. Close that window. Not on Skype, but the one that you're watching live. Let's see. I don't hear it anymore, so we're good. Okay, so I'm going to bring you back in now. Okay, so Lee Woodman, thanks so much for calling in and joining us. Let me find your poem really quick. So where are you calling from?
Washington, D.C.
And how are things in Washington, D.C.?
Bleak politically,
Mm-hmm.
spare for people in the streets. It's a gorgeous day, so people are going for walks, which is good, but they are keeping their distance.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good too. That's something we have to do. What about, are people wearing masks? The one thing that I'm really bothered by is that we're not, and that the government says that you shouldn't, because just catching your own virus is such an important thing if you're an asymptomatic carrier. When you go out, are people doing it? Because here nobody is, and I think that's awful.
I do.
Yeah.
I do, and I see more and more people in my apartment building doing that, but very few people on the street are wearing masks yet. I just happen to have some from a renovation that I did in my apartment 6 years ago, and so I didn't feel bad using the old bag of unused masks.
Yeah. But even just a bandana or something is better than walking around with nothing. So, and I feel like the government doesn't want to admit its mask shortage issue, and so they put out this ridiculous statement that it doesn't matter, but it matters so much for the rate of spread. Anyway, that's a side note. So I have your poem ready. It's 2020 Monologue, right?
2020 Monologue.
And there's some kind of static when you touch near the microphone, so be careful about that.
Okay.
2020 Monologue. The mirror reflects my right eye, its falling lash. My face appears old but new at every angle. He removed my high school photo from its frame, my 16-year-old skin so plump, no trace of wrinkles, no sign of being downcast. He placed this relic in a bag, set adrift. A marriage once vibrant drifted. You try to recall joy and vow not to lash out, only to practice kindness, not to forecast disaster. You look in vain for an angle to find those bygone feelings, just a trace that proves she once glowed in his silver frame. I scan our prenup. It was a protective frame. How sure we were we'd never drift from life together. There wasn't any trace of doubt until irreparable crises, a backlash, two different perspectives, two disparate angles on a story long locked in a too tight cast. Abruptly, life erupts violently. The virus recasts health, families, the stock market into a strange frame. Friends and enemies are forced to see diverging angles. Problems impossible to solve must wait and drift. Budgets, social life, school attendance are slashed. Invisible microbes shower us with little trace. Desperately, we Clorox away the unseen traces, despair the droplets in metro, slip on gloves to cast away hidden germs, protect noses, mouths, eyelashes, learn to self-distance, set our calendars to reframe what seem to be important meetings, let drift all dates, forego commitments, untangle. The micro and the macro start to wrangle. My personal struggle in life is a mere trace. Terrified my strength to survive will begin its drift. I see the whole world may lose its casting. I rail against a president's outlandish frame. Only fools can believe his fraudulent news flashes. My fury screams for me to clash with injustice, trace deep into my hurt to frame new worlds, new words that won't drift or cast away.
Thanks so much. That was Lee Woodman reading a Sestina 2020 Monologue. For those watching at home who don't know a Sestina, we like to hope that there are people who are super indoctrinated into poetry and are more lay poetry fans. That's the last line or last word of each line repeat. So there's these 6 words that repeat, and then they all find their way into the last stanza there, and that's a really good Sestina. Thanks so much for sharing that, Lee Woodman.
You are more than welcome, and thanks for doing this, Tim. What a treat for all artists and for the world.
Oh, it's just my pleasure. We had this whole setup for the Rattle cast that we do on Tuesdays, and I figure we might as well put it to extra use now that I'm not going anywhere on Sundays anyway. But hope you have a great one, and stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, let's see. So we have about 4 more minutes, probably room for 1 or 2 more people. Let me see if Carrie Gunter Seymour. I'll give her a ring and see if she'll answer. And I'll try to find her poem while I'm doing that. Hey, Carrie, this is Tim with Rattle. I'm going to pull you in just a second. I see you and hear you. Let me pull you in so everyone else can see you and hear you too.
Awesome.
So hello. So Carrie Gunter Seymour, it's Wash Your Hands Chili. Is that the one?
It's Child. Wash your hands.
Oh, wash your hands, child. Yeah, of course.
No wonder you didn't pick.
No wonder. No. Yeah, it's if people who haven't watched these episodes before, I'm doing like 100 things at once. So it is. I say stupid things all the time. I'm trying to pay attention to like 8 screens.
But we love you.
Well, thanks so much. Thanks so much for saying that. So where are you calling from? It says Albany, Ohio. Is that where you are?
Yeah, I'm in Appalachian, Ohio. Mm-hmm. It's southeastern.
And how are things there? Is it it's just everywhere the same now, or
we have no outbreak in our area, and I'm going to really knock on wood for that. I just read a quick note from our governor. I think he's asking us all to stay home now. I think we'll be allowed to go to the grocery store, the doctor, and that's it.
Yeah.
He's working very hard. Governor DeWine's doing a great job in Ohio keeping us safe.
Yeah, we've noticed from California that he seems like the best governor, I think. And Cuomo's doing a good job too. But DeWine, I wish he were president. He seems like he's doing a good job.
He is doing an excellent job, and we are all listening to him. We are. We're being good.
Yeah, that's great. That's really important that we do. Okay, so wash your hands, child. I'm going to throw it up on screen, and let's hear it.
Okay. Here goes. Wash your hands, child. It's not a full-on quarantine, but it feels like it. School closings, bars, restaurants, beauty parlors. I've canceled professional commitments and workshops, paid gigs I was counting on. I'm not alone in my regret. We are still tempted to enter the land of touching. I've jammed the cupboards with recommended staples, scold myself hourly for touching my face, have washed my hands to the point of crusty irritation across each knuckle. I know this drill. My Appalachian grandmother, having lived through the Spanish one herself, had one rule about which she was obsessive. Wash up, spit polish, immediately upon entering the house. We could talk with our mouths full, shove and taunt, build booby traps on the porch, run amok in the pastures. But before we set foot inside the house, our shoes were off, our hands and faces scrubbed, standing on a step stool in the washroom, the hand pump drawing water fresh from the well. There was a bar of lye soap, a soft wire brush, and a full inspection previous to every meal. You know better than that whap on the backside for any slackers. She meticulously cleaned every egg, pork chop, celery stalk, jars and cans before prying loose their lids, bleach scoured countertops and porcelain floors, the bottom of our shoes at night, She always laid a freshly laundered cloth across the table before dishing up victuals, most of which she had grown and preserved herself. We gossiped about how our granny was a little off, constantly complained as we stood in line for that bristled brush, our bellies grumbling nearly as loud as our mouths. Upon her death, we let go of grandmother's ways, barely taking time to rinse our hands, our tangibles, stuffing ourselves on the go, processed food served, upsized and sugared, licking our mucky fingers between bites. This afternoon, my granddaughter, all 7 years of her, fawn-eyed, tearful, asked me how her tiny hands, unblemished, perfectly formed, could do me harm. Hands that have hardly touched this world, this child, and the slow tail wagging of her dog, standing exactly 6 heel-to-toe paces away outside my screen door. Take care, y'all.
You too, Carrie Gunter Seymour. Thanks so much for sharing that poem. Another really great one. I love the accent too. The great reading of it.
That's how my people talk.
Yeah, well, that's great. It really adds to the poem. Thanks so much for sharing it. It was a good one.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay, so we're going to do just one more. I want to keep these to about an hour. Now, Jill Crenshaw is probably going to be up next. She trying to call. There's a bunch of people trying to call. I'm sorry I can't get to everybody, as I said. But I think an hour or so, bleeding over into the second hour is a good length for these shows every Sunday. But anytime you want to submit a poem for Poets Respond, we'll always have this opportunity, I think, from now on, because it's a lot of fun to do. Jill Crenshaw is ringing. Let's see. But not answering. I think her ringer is off. Let me see. Oh, there's an incoming call. I'll just answer this incoming call. I don't know. It's an unknown person. Hey, this is Tim with Rattle. You're on air in just a second. I hear myself, though, so X out of whatever window you're watching in. Can you hear me? Hey, who is this? Constance Williams. Okay, thanks so much for calling. Can you click the camera button so we can see you? It's right next to the hang up in the mute. Yeah. Let's see. Well, if we can't, that's fine too.
Yeah, I called in. I'm not sure how.
Oh, you called the number. Okay, yeah. So we'll just get your voice. That's totally fine though. So let me pull up. It's Constance Williams, right? Or Williams with an S?
Yep, Constance Williams.
Okay. Let me pull up your poem. So where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. So right down the hill from us. We can see you. If I hike up to the top of my mountain, I can see you.
Yeah.
Did you want to do? You have time, and you have the distance between us that I see. Did you want to do one of those two?
Sure, I'll do the distance between us.
Okay.
Time is a little explicit, so.
Okay, that sounds good.
Maybe not that one.
Yeah. Okay, so I got it on screen now. So yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Great, thank you. The distance between us. My brother is getting married in the midst of a plague. His bachelor party with its cowboy hats and surgical masks. Its whiskey sanitizing a row of esophagi. And I haven't been touched by another human being in weeks, and it's insane to think about loving in a time like this. My own partner on another continent triggering a yawn in me through a metal square in my palm that I periodically wipe down with Lysol that I can only open with the touch of a finger, the recognition of my face. And we once laughed that I got her sick over the phone, and now we don't talk much anymore. Borders and minds closed and opened again to usher in an odd sort of purgatory. The distance between us, half a world plus the CDC recommended 6 feet. The distance between us, 2 people on opposite sides of a bus bench. And in Thailand, hundreds of monkeys are fighting over single bananas, starved from lack of attention from visiting tourists' lunch pails. In Los Angeles, I rush and screech towards my phone at your call, fighting away rumpled sheets and empty bottles of Purell. Your voice, your name, sung from your balcony to mine. Your touch, all touch, elusive and strange. We FaceTime 2 friends in the dark room, plead with them to kiss our glass faces together again.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. That was The Distance Between Us by Constance Williams, calling in from
Thank you so much.
LA. Yeah, thanks so much. Another excellent poem.
And thanks so much for putting this on. It's so great.
Yeah, man, my pleasure. Keep them coming, and hope you join this show again sometime soon.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay, so I said we just do one more, but I feel bad that we didn't get Jill Craneshaw on, so I'm going to try to give her one more call. And let's see, she replied, so I think she turned her ringer on now. Here's Jill Craneshaw. Hey, click on the camera button if you would, so I can see you, if possible. If not, that's okay.
Yeah, hang on.
Okay.
No.
Well, if not, that's totally fine.
Got it.
Oh, you got it? Okay, there you go.
Yep.
Okay, Jill Craneshaw. Thanks for calling, and I'm glad we got through to you. Oops, it keeps.
Yeah, thank you. I was a technologically inept poet over here.
Well, we're all learning how to use this technology all together
Indeed.
at once. It's a crash course on modernity, I guess.
Indeed.
Let me try to pull up the poem you sent this week. And where are you calling from?
I'm in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Very nice. And how are things there?
Well, we are closed down in many different ways, restaurants, schools, bars, other kinds of things, but making it okay. And the spring weather is absolutely gorgeous here, some of the prettiest I've ever seen.
That's great. Well, I'm really hoping. I've been following the research closely, and it looks like that there might be a seasonal component to the R0 there. So maybe as it gets warmer, it'll stop spreading as easily.
I certainly hope that's the case, but don't know.
So the poem I have is a Dear Midnight. Is that what you wanted to read?
Actually, I was going to read the one from the previous week, but you might not have it.
I could look it up if you want. What's that one called?
Yeah, that's called Fierce Fragile Seasons.
Okay. It's going to take me a second to get there. I have to go through the archived ones too.
Yeah, I emailed it to you yesterday.
Oh, did you? Well, I have it. I'm going to have it here in just a second.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for doing this. This is a wonderful event.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's I've really always wanted to be able to share these poems more. It's just hard, because we want to publish a poem every day. There's a nice sort of feel to getting one in your inbox. Right. But there's so many good ones that are worth sharing, and just engaging with the world this way is a really cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so Fierce Fragile Seasons, a poem in 4 parts.
Yes.
Okay, yep, I got it.
Okay. So you're ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Mama Cardinal studies me as I stand in rain-wet morning sunlight. I see fire flash in her feathers when she flits and flashes from fence post to flaming forsythia, nesting in preparation for whatever springtime color waits to touch the earth. Sepia-soaked scrapbooks ensconce human fragilities exposed. I study faces retreating from fiery colors of aliveness, buried in catacombs where mortal coils were torn away too soon from butterflies, waiting even now to meet the sunrise. Night settles down into streets emptied of laughing children and lingering lovers, spinning cocoons to hide fragile dreams while the world shuts out a sinister stalker. A brave pinion pushes open a window, slips a lonely song into the silence and hope, throbs in voices that swell together on the breeze. Backyard cardinals carry springtime rhythms in their beaks. Wrens domicile in the abandoned eaves of the church belfry next door. And we humans study yet again how to weave into our nest fiery threads of hope, longing to color unsettled nights with song.
Thanks so much. That was Jill Craneshaw from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, reading Fierce Fragile Seasons. Thanks so much for sharing that and joining us today, Jill.
Thank you for inviting and including all of us. It's been an encouraging couple of hours here.
That's great. My pleasure. Yeah, hope to see you soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Well, I know a lot of people still want to come on up, and I wish we get to everybody, but I do have to get going. I have to go get my walk and vitamin C and breakfast, because actually I haven't eaten breakfast yet. But thanks so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this, please do click the like button and share it. If you would, that really helps a lot. Now, as I know, this is an extension of the Rattlecast, which happens every Tuesday night, and this week's guest is going to be Jimmy Pappas, I think he's a New Hampshire poet. He was one of the last winner of the 2019 Rattle Chapbook Prize. His book "Falling Off the Empire State Building," which is really relevant to today. It's a book about mortality and family, really, and sort of coming to terms with what's important in life, I guess you could say. And so people have been enjoying that chapbook, which came out with our spring issue, Rattle number 67. All subscribers get a chapbook along with every issue if you aren't a subscriber and don't know that. So a lot of people have been enjoying that book, and we're going to talk to Jimmy and read poems from the book on Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. I should also let you know that we have a critique of the week too, which I think I'm going to start, since it looks like this worked, I'm going to start simulcasting that too on YouTube and Facebook at the same time every Friday afternoon. That would be 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. We go over critique a poem every week, and that's a lot of fun too. So there's 3, people are going to be sick of me, but that's okay. There's 3 separate things that we do for video now. So I'm on video here for about 3 hours, maybe a week, and hope that helps through this time where we're all quarantined. And I hope that you stay safe and have a great week, and keep submitting poems for Poets Respond, and join me next week to hear more of them. Have a good night. Bye.